put together a program which I'm very, very proud of. It's called Bronx. We have done what most people thought couldn't be done. Give people jobs, train them for even better jobs, and really make sure that they enter the right workforce in a meaningful way. And one of the things we've been able to do is sort of change up the program, expand the program. And one of the things that's extremely special to myself and the Borough President is the Bronx Hire Survival Program. These are survivors of domestic violence. These are individuals who have the courage to start their life anew. And one of the things I think we also have to be very mindful of, we can pass all the tough laws we want, but unless we do something to ensure that these women gain full independence, we're really wasting our money. So that's why it's so important to make sure that that independence can be achieved. I passed laws which make sure that the survivor is able to access their health insurance without the permission of, in many cases, the person who abused them in the first place. We want to make sure that they have priority in public housing, especially in New York City housing authority. But probably the best example of making sure that these women achieve independence is through a job. And last year I came along with the Borough President, the Bronx Hire Survival Program. We had this fantastic internship program where we were so successful in really placing people. And I think one of the things I'm really very proud of is one of these young women here today. Her name is Margarita. She not only came through the Bronx Hire Survival Program, she now works for Teddy Nissan here in the Bronx. She's a success story. This is what it's all about. Let's give a big round of applause, everyone. Well, I'm proud to stand here today and say that we're going to continue this program for another year. And one of the things we find out very, very quickly, there's a lot of women who actually want to get into the workforce, they want to get a job. But it becomes very, very important for someone who's survived domestic violence. And what we find is, yes, they want to work, they may have the skill sets, there's employers that want to hire them, but they need certain things. They need some education, they need some further certification. So one of the things that we're tapping into this year is a very growing industry, not only in the Bronx, but really across the city and state, and that's childcare. So these young women in this program are undergo a very lengthy program where they're going to learn the ins and outs of how they enter the childcare field. This is something that's crucial, not only for the survivor of domestic violence, but for making sure that these women gain independence. So I'm so proud that I was able to walk on our Borough President. So I'd like to introduce someone who's no stranger to anyone in the Bronx and beyond, our Borough President, Ruben Diaz, Jr.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our 13th annual Diva Spot. I want to give Jeff Klein a strong round of applause. Help me give him a strong round of applause for all of the work that he does, not only in his announcement today, but what he does for us in the Bronx, in New York City, and for the state of New York, in his leadership role up in the State Senate. Senator Klein, you have proven to be a true champion, someone who has touched on very different topics and issues that affect all of us, and the work that you do up there has truly been has given us a positive effect in our lives, and we appreciate the partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, today this Diva Spot is about us coming together as a community during this month where we wear purple. It's about us having a conversation, a tough conversation, about this little dark secret that nobody wants to talk about, which is domestic violence. When you look at the statistics in the Bronx and throughout the city of New York, sometimes the media doesn't cover the fact that we've been doing so much better with crime reduction. But the one area that we have to do more, the one area that really affects so many of us, is the area of domestic violence, where we see more and more of the attacks, more and more of the violent acts being committed, for the most part on women, and for the most part by men in their families. And this affects not only the victims, It affects the children. It affects how education is happening in our schools. It affects family members. And so we're here as part of this month-long, and by the way, it should happen every day, but we're here about to have this month-long conversation, whether it's with Diva Spot or Diva Talk that we'll be having with News 12. This is about us ridding ourselves, speaking to families, letting the victims know that there's a place to turn to, letting them know that you have partners in government who are out there to help you, that we have a justice center here on 161st Street, which is a one-stop shop where victims can go and get services for housing, get services for their children, make sure that they get the social services and the attention by the police department and the district attorney's office. We don't want anyone to go through this horrific thing in domestic violence that people are going through on a daily basis. And we also don't want them to go on thinking that no one is here to help. This Diva Squad speaks to, I think, is the very core of what we're trying to do in terms of combating domestic violence. A lot of it has to do with not just physical abuse, but mental abuse, about having a victim feel like they should think less of themselves. So here we have massages and facials and hairstyling, and also pedicures and manicures and blow drying and all the things that we want people to do to make them feel better about themselves, because so often the abuser tries to belittle that individual. But also we know, and a lot of people say, well, Mr. Borough President or Senator Klein, if there's a victim of domestic violence, why don't they just get out of that situation? It's a whole lot harder, especially when that person, the one that's being abused, is so dependent on the abuser when it comes to finances, when they don't have that financial security, when they feel like they can't go off on their own. And so last week, we were able to celebrate the fact that unemployment continues to go down in the Bronx. But for me, that unemployment also has to touch everyone. And so working with the Bronx Chamber of Commerce, Michelle is here. Working with State Senator Klein, we had a huge announcement last year about this Bronx hire, so that we can ensure that as we continue to create jobs in the Bronx, that we do it for everyone. And in this case, what better way, what better thing to have than a job for that individual who's been abused, that individual who doesn't know what to do, that individual who can do better for themselves if they just simply have a financial independence. And so Senator Klein has been able to do that, working with Michelle in the Bronx Chamber of Commerce. We have real, true stories like Margarita, who's with us here today, and others. And so I'm so proud to be here today for this announcement. So proud to have, once again, hosted this Diva Spot. I want to thank my staff. I want to thank Charito with her chamber, our cosmetology chamber. Let's give Charito a short round of applause. I want to thank all the sponsors, and of course, I want to commend and congratulate all of the survivors for being so courageous, for being so brave, for telling your story, for saying, you know what, we're going to shine a spotlight on that dark little thing called domestic violence. It is your courage that enables us to go out there and let people know that help is here and more help is on the way. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Queremos felicitar a Jeff Klein por toda su labor, por todo lo que ha hecho. Le queremos dar las gracias a aquellas personas que son víctimas de violencia doméstica, por su coraje, no solamente por estar aquí con nosotros hoy, sino por decir su historia, por enseñar que sí podemos asistir a cualquier familiar y a cualquier persona que necesita su asistencia. Le queremos dar las gracias a los oficiadores, a Charito, Cisnero, al Bronx identificados por todo lo que han hecho. Y sí, yo creo que en el futuro vamos a llegar al día que ninguna persona va a decir que es víctima de violencia doméstica. Thank you, Jeff Klein. Thank you all for being here.
Next up, I'd like to introduce someone who really has done such a tremendous job in making sure that the Bronx Fire Program is a success. She also works very closely with my office, the President's office, to ensure that the survival program is able to enter into its second year. I'd like to introduce the Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce, Michelle Howard.
Senator Klein